Kaspersky, one of the biggest names in cybersecurity, has officially stepped into the Linux desktop world. Yes, you heard that right. After years of focusing on Windows and macOS, Kaspersky has finally launched a full-featured antivirus solution for Linux users. And that's something the open source community didn't exactly see coming, but is this a good thing? Or should Linux users stay away from closed source antivirus tools? Let's find out. For years, Linux users have proudly claimed they don't need antivirus software. The usual argument is that Linux is inherently more secure, fewer viruses, stronger permissions, a smaller user base, and, of course, open source transparency. But the world has changed. Malware authors have evolved, threats have become more cross, and many Linux users today share files with Windows or Android devices daily. So maybe, just maybe, it's time for the Linux world to think differently about security. So what exactly did Kaspersky release? The product is called simply Kaspersky for Linux, and it's now officially available for home desktop users. It supports most major 64-bit distributions, including Ubuntu, Alt Linux, Oncom, and Red OS. The installation is similar to what you'd expect from other Kaspersky products. It's graphical, clean, and integrated with the Linux desktop environment. This new version offers real-time protection. That means it constantly monitors your system for malicious files, suspicious behavior, and potentially unwanted programs. It can scan your home directory, external drives, and even network locations. One of the most impressive parts is its behavior-based detection engine, id-docent. Just look for known virus signatures. It watches how processes behave, and if something acts suspiciously, Kaspersky steps in to isolate it. Now, let's talk features. Apart from standard malware protection, it includes anti-phishing tools for browsers, online payment protection, anti-cryptojacking technology, which is a big deal. Cryptojacking is when malicious websites or background processes secretly use your CPU or GPU power to mine. And yes, that's something Linux users have seen growing in recent years, especially those who browse unknown repositories or run unverified scripts. The product integrates with Kaspersky's subscription system. If you already have a Kaspersky account and a plan like Standard, Plus, or Premium, you can simply add your Linux machine under the same license. There's also a 30-day free trial available if you just want to test it out. Pricing for new users starts at around $60 per year, depending on your region. But before you rush to install it, here's the big question. Do you actually need antivirus on Linux? That's where opinions get divided. On one hand, Linux systems are far less likely to be hit by viruses compared to Windows. On the other hand, malware is no longer the only threat. Phishing, ransomware, crypto miners, and even malicious shell scripts are now part of the Linux threat landscape. Imagine this. You download a script from GitHub to automate a task. It works perfectly fine, but it also quietly sends your SSH keys to a remote server. Or maybe you mount a USB drive from a Windows PC infected with a worm. That worm may not harm Linux directly, but you could unknowingly pass it to another Windows machine. That's where tools like Kaspersky can act as a safeguard, not just for your system, but for others around you. Now, of course, the elephant in the room, Kaspersky's reputation and its geopolitical background. Some users hesitate to install Russian-made software because of concerns about data collection or government influence. Kaspersky insists that its data processing for global users happens in Switzerland under strict EU standards, and that its codebase is regularly audited. But whether or not you trust that, well, it's up to you. Let's look at performance. According to early reviews, Kaspersky for Linux runs surprisingly light. It doesn't slow down your system as much as traditional antivirus software on Windows. Its resource footprint stays modest even during full scans. The interface feels modern, GTK-based, minimalistic, with a dashboard showing real-time protection status, recent scans, and updates. For users who prefer the command line, Kaspersky also provides CLE tools to run scans, update definitions, and manage configurations without touching the GUI. Now let's talk about alternatives. There are other antivirus tools for Linux, like Clamavi and EsetNod 3.2 for Linux. Clamavi is open source and free, but it lacks real-time protection and modern behavioral detection. Sophos and ESCTs are decent, but not updated as frequently as Kaspersky's engine. So in terms of commercial Linux protection, Kaspersky might actually lead the pack right now. However, you don't necessarily need full-time antivirus if you're careful. Linux security is still built around proper permissions, sandboxing, and regular updates. Tools like Apermers to Linux and FireJail can isolate risky applications. You can use open source scanners occasionally to check suspicious files. So again, antivirus on Linux isn't mandatory. It's optional insurance. Now here's another interesting point. The Linux desktop is slowly becoming mainstream, from developers to content creators, and even casual users switching from Windows 10 or 11 as Linux gains more market share. It's only natural that security companies will start taking it seriously. Kaspersky's move might just be the beginning. We could see more security vendors entering the space. Maybe even open source security suites in the future. One cool feature Kaspersky added is automatic USB scanning. Every time you plug in a drive, it checks it for malware before you access it. That's great for dual boot users who move data between Windows and Linux. It can also detect threats targeting Android devices if you connect your phone via USB. Pretty useful in mixed device households. Now let's discuss privacy. While the product claims to protect your data, like every cloud-connected antivirus, it does send metadata about potential threats for analysis. According to Kaspersky, that data is anonymized and processed in Switzerland. But you can disable cloud participation in settings if you prefer privacy over cloud-level detection speed. So who should actually use this? If you're a casual desktop Linux user who only uses official repositories, you might not need it. But if you install third-party software, run scripts from Git, or often share files between Linux and Windows, then having this extra layer of security makes sense. Also, if you're responsible for other people as data, like in an office or school environment, running a security suite like Kaspersky could help avoid cross-platform infections. The installation process is pretty straightforward. You download the package from Kaspersky's official site, install dependencies like systemd and GTK libraries, and activate it using your Kaspersky account. Once set up, it auto-updates definitions daily and can run scheduled scans quietly in the background. It is also worth noting that Kaspersky for Linux ISNT, a minimal version of their Windows app, it's a fully fledged product built for the Linux kernel with specific optimizations. It supports a notify for file system monitoring, uses kernel vol hooks to intercept suspicious activity, and integrates with system logs to identify abnormal patterns. However, there's one limitation. The current version doesn't integrate deeply with browser extensions on Linux yet, so web filtering might not work across all browsers. Kaspersky says they're working on better Chromium and Firefox support for Linux in upcoming updates. In short, Kaspersky entering the Linux desktop world is a big sign of where the Linux ecosystem is heading toward broader mainstream adoption. Security tools that were once exclusive to Windows are now arriving on Linux because the demand is finally there. Whether you love or hate it, it's a milestone moment for desktop Linux. So, should you install it? If you trust Kaspersky and want easy certificateprotection, go ahead and try the free trial. If you're more privacy focused and prefer open source security tools, you can stick with ClamAV or system hardening. Either way, the fact that Kaspersky is paying attention to Linux users now shows that the platform is being taken seriously by major software vendors. To wrap it up, Linux is no longer just for developers and systems. It's becoming a real alternative for mainstream users, and that means more responsibility when it comes to security. Whether you use Kaspersky or not, remember, security starts with you keeping your system updated, avoiding shady downloads, and understanding what runs on your machine. Thanks for watching. If you found this breakdown useful, drop a like, share it with your fellow Linux friends, and subscribe for more videos about open source technology, security, and the future of computing. Let me know in the comments, would you trust Kaspersky on your Linux system, or do you prefer sticking with open source tools? I'll be reading your thoughts. See you in the next one.